Well, I'm going to get into this. There's a lot of history out there, man, that people just don't know, don't even know about, don't even understand. Right now, the whole world thinks Russia is a bad guy. Russia's a threat to the whole world. That's very possible. That's very possible. But there is another sleeping giant that could become awake. Has a lot to do with what happens in Ukraine and Russia. Also, what happens in Taiwan. And a lot of you smart people out there should be able to figure that out pretty fast. It'll show you the mistakes our General MacArthur and the politicians made in Korea. Well, Korea. We interfered. We did not let Korea solve its own problem, which we should have done. We found that out later in Vietnam. People. Strongest weapon in the world. And those little people in Vietnam showed us exactly what that meant. All the power in the world we had at our disposal, and those little people kicked our butt. 15 years. We learned not much really from it. But in Korea we found out that once we crossed the 38th parallel, we started upsetting the giant. The giant warned us at least twice. Basically, short and simple, what are your intentions when we went past the 38th parallel? Onwards up toward the Yalu River, China asked us again, what are your frickin' intentions? And don't come near the Yalu River. That's on China's border. That was a route, if I remember right, in World War II that Chinese used. Well, we hit the Yalu River. And I have a brother that was up there. He was on the east side of the reservoir, if I remember right. In an Army unit, 1,000-something men. Marine Corps on the left side, a couple thousand. Well, he said the most fearsome sound he had ever heard in his life was when I won't even quote the amount, but let's just say 1 million. It was more. Chinese come storming out of those mountains, blowing those freaking little bugles, and those machine guns got a handle. They were called burp guns. It was like my brother said, they sound just like you letting out a hell of a good burp when that trigger was squeezed. Well, we got pushed all the way back, little by little by little. And we lost so many Americans. We lost so many Americans. Well, he's lucky. He made it back to past the 38th. And you hear that the United States military pushed the Chinese back. That's not exactly accurate. The United States actually was bringing in ships and everything to evacuate all the troops out of South Korea. My brother's opinion, the Chinese basically stopped at the 38th parallel. And researching that history, I'm kind of inclined to agree with him that the Chinese did stop their push. A lot of military people say, no, we could have kicked their butts. Well, later on, it took a lot of years before a lot of truth came out of China, but on the other side of those mountains, there was another 2.5 million Chinese soldiers waiting to be used if they were needed. And yes, Russia did give them some assistance, but basically stayed directly out of the involvement of it. We had all the power. We had all the planes, the bombers, the artillery, the tanks. Chinese didn't have all that. But anyway, all I'm talking about is pay attention. Pay attention to that sleeping tiger, that sleeping giant. We have to be very careful we don't try to push that giant into a corner. And it'll be interesting to hear a lot of comments about this. But I'm sure you people out there can understand what I'm saying. When Ukraine becomes part of NATO, Finland, Sweden, what the hell is NATO and the USA going to do? Man, they're going to bring in big weapons. Hell, right on down probably to atomic, nuclear. Well, like I say, will be interesting to see how all this plays out. Like I say, take Ukraine. It's at the point of almost pushing Russia over the cliff. If we take Ukraine, incorporate Finland, Sweden, man, it'll be interesting. I hope I live long enough to see what the hell the results of this are going to be. But I like what that one man said. I consider him a great leader. He once said, every country should solve its own problems without outside interference. That makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Considering if you look around the world, probably for every type of war, conflict, coup, or anything else in this frickin' world, the good old USA has always been part of it. Oh, manifest destiny. Outright to be the #1 power of the world. Well, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Okay, folks, I know I'm going to get a lot of crap on this.